Chairman for the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, a member of Parliament for Insawam. Is it Insawam Adweji? Okay, Insawam Adweji in the studio. Frank Anodompe. Mr. Anodompe, good morning. Thanks for joining me.
Wonderful. It's good to see you. Good morning to your listeners. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Pleasure seeing you.
Yeah, a pleasure as always. And then also Kwame Agboja, member of Parliament for Adaklu and Ranking. Roads and Transport Committee. I'm right, right?
Yes, yes.
And he's a firebrand.
Oh, yes, no,
yes.
I'm up and coming.
Oh, I'm moderate.
For the next NDC government.
Hey,
what would that be?
Maybe 20, 50, 30 or something.
Okay.
But you never know.
You never know.
You never know.
Okay, it's good that you've added
It could be more.
It's a caveat.
It could be more.
Or it could be actually more.
Yes.
And when are you resuming, all of you?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
Oh, just Tuesday.
Yeah.
But your constituency was just here, so you were always around. We were listening to you and all that. That's cool. It means you don't spend money. Unlike him, he'll be in the village spending money. I'm not sure he's...
It depends.
Depends, yeah.
I may be closer, but maybe spending more. You never know. And the dynamics are different.
Charlie, the MPs are rich, man.
My brother, we beg you, don't you have to, and you know better. And I know you know. It's not an easy tax at all.
As well.
But it's a call to duty to serve humanity.
Yep. I agree.
But you need to help us.
But we do.
You, the media, you need to help us.
We do. That's the good thing about
and help us resolve this impression out there that we are rich. It is not the case. It's a call to public service, and we are serving.
Okay. Hey, so you're the chairman for the Foreign Affairs Committee. Yeah. What do you think about? I saw your ranking put a post on his Facebook and also generally published by the online portals about the president's comment on JB Dankwa and his illustrious involvement in the establishment of the premier University of Ghana, and how when he was the lead speaker and the guest of honor for the inauguration of the University of Ghana Fund, he said JB Dankwa was, and you know, social media went agog, the platform saying that he wants to change the name and all that, but we just put things into perspective.
Well, I think I've not read the
post.
But I have respect for my ranking. We work together as a team. I don't know the context with which he put the post, but I heard the president partly during the program, and I think that it is also not in doubt that JB Dankwa played a role in the establishment of the university. He was a very important figure as far as the university's history is concerned. We can't gloss over that, but I'm not sure the president were out there insisting that the premier university should be named after JB Dankwa, who happens to be his uncle. That is not the impression created. If for nothing at all, the Minister for Information has come out officially to put matters in context and to clear the air. So we may have to leave it there as of now, and I don't want to dabble into any matter that I don't have evidence. So the president only, I think that reiterated the role that his uncle played, and maybe we should leave it there for now.
He's playing it safe. I think you also should play safe.
Well, I think what he said is that there's nothing wrong with that. The fact is the president didn't actually say they're going to name the university after his uncle, but there have been telltale signs of how other things were changed in the past. But I mean, there have been all sorts of, I've read very interesting things about why University of Ghana should remain University of Ghana, because the most interesting one I heard was Ghana is bigger than any other name. If you have University of Science and Technology, which are considered to be the best university in Ghana, renamed Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, that can be different from changing University of Ghana to somebody's name, because Ghana is bigger than any other name. So we'll leave it like that. But let's hope that the fear of people that the president was trying to create a hegemony, kind of honoring his father and uncle, is not what the agenda is. And indeed, the president did say that he was coming to rename the university as such. So I will agree with him. Let's leave it like that and see.
Well, towards the end of the news day yesterday, there was a statement signed by the Director of Communications at the Presidency, Eugene Ahin, saying that 4 judges had been suspended. Then quickly, we had lawyer for one of the judges who had been suspended, and also a number of media personnel who quickly tried to correct an impression that those 4 judges apparently had already been suspended earlier, back in 2015. And the story featured on many of the portals also gave us the indication as to what it was. So we go to page 26, and it says, President Akufo-Addo has, on the advice of the Council of State and in accordance with Article 14610B of the Constitution, suspended 4 justices of the Supreme Court. Now, there was a letter also written by the Vice President at the time, Papa Kwesi Emi-Sahata, also suspending these same 4, and as a result of that, we've had their lead counsel come out to say that that should not be the impression that should be created, and that action has already been taken. It seemed to have generated some discussion on the platform. So let me start with you, Mr. Kwame Agbojo, on this subject.
Yeah, my understanding is that 1 out of the 4 is the only one whose name was missing in the previous suspension thing. So if I listen to the lawyer carefully, what he's trying to say is that the other 3 are already serving suspension, and their salaries and entitlements have been withdrawn. So Mr. Ahin, who is the spokesperson for the president, should have known that you can't suspend somebody who is already on suspension. What are you suspending again? And he was urging them to just admit that they got something wrong, and then probably withdraw that letter and probably rewrite it. If it was only about that single person, there's nothing difficult about that. Everybody can understand. But it became a big argument, and the way I understood it is that from the letter you read, which was written by the former Vice President, His Excellency Emi-Sahata, there shouldn't be another letter doing the same thing. What is, however, surprising is it possible that the Judicial Council and all those people, the new Chief Justice, would have ignored whatever steps were taken in the past before recommending the suspension of the 3 to the President? Is it possible they didn't realize those files or those actions existed and they took the same actions? It's something we need to address, because if at that level, this sort of, let's say, oversight, I mean, can be experienced, I think then we should be really worried about the way things are done in this country. But from my understanding, 3 of those judges are already on suspension, and any letter asking them to go for another suspension is probably a mistake and should have been noticed and corrected. That is how I understood it. Yeah.
Well, I think that first of all, we need to understand that this thing began some time back, okay? And if you look to trace the history, we're all living to witness what due process of the law, states. That for us to be able to, take off a judge, so to speak, it has to go through a certain process. And for us, I think that we need to commend ourselves as a country. It wasn't just by somebody's discretionary power deciding to take off a judge or so, but a due process is being set in motion. That I think we've done well. Now, I just heard the argument about the council to the judges, and I cannot put too much of a blame on the presidency because, the president could not have acted without the evidence coming from the Judicial Council. And that's what the Constitution says. If there is a prima facie case, it will have to come from the Judicial Council before the president can act. So if it is true that, going by what the council to the judges are saying, the lawyer, that it seems to be a second suspension, which I don't have evidence to. If it is true, then it has to be looked at again, because our democracy has come of age. And Ghana is seen as one of the shining examples when it comes to rule of law and practice of democracy. And so is a bit worrisome to hear the way it is turning out. But I will ask the Judicial Council to look at matters again, and they probably advise the president accordingly. If it says as it is being said, then we have to look at it again. It will not be right, and it also creates a certain impression which is not too good for us. So it has to be looked at. But I doubt that, knowing Eugene Ayin, who he is, I've worked with him before at the Dankwa Institute. We were all there together. An excellent, he's a first-class student, very excellent, very intelligent. So I'm surprised it's playing out to be like as it is being said. But it is too early in the day. The lawyers will always argue and make their case stronger. But let's see how it plays out. But I think that they should look at it again. And the Judicial Council particularly, I think the focus should be on the Judicial Council for this stage. Well,
we should also put on record that Eugene Ayin, who is the Director of Communications at the Presidency, said anyone who has any difficulty with a statement or the action taken by the President should go blame the Judicial or the Chief Justice, so to speak, or go speak to the Chief Justice, so to speak, because that directive was coming from the Chief Justice, and the President was only acting on that directive, appropriately set out by what our regulations are. But let's move on. There's a story that has been dominating the front pages, and also here we've been talking about it. 1D1F just means that one district, one factory has received a boost. On page 3 of the paper, the Daily Graphic, it says that a $400 million credit facility is to be released by Ghana, or released to Ghana by the China Nation Building Material Corporation to support the establishment of some 22 factories and the government's One District, One Factory initiative. The credit facility is being sourced from major Chinese financial institutions by government, or as part of efforts to give more meaning to the implementation of the One District, One Factory policy. And we know that at least 4 local banks have been selected to serve as the intermediaries between the facility, the Chinese entity, the local businessmen and women to execute the project. Let me start with you, Mr. Anodompre. Well, after 12 months, and then even the 5th month of the next, the 2nd year of the administration of the Akufo-Addo-led government, looks as if we're still just having some wishy-washy, not too sure, you know, about some of the major policies. Of course, we had free SHS implemented, but this one seems to be in a limbo. We seem to be having all these things around the grapevine, some actions being taken, not being taken. What do you say to that?
I want to look at it from a very positive point of view.
Which is
that we need to set the framework and get the context right. Don't forget, we have a history. When we have all these state enterprises, state companies, so to speak, and then eventually all of them, you know, came collapsing because it was primarily owned and run by the state. A certain socialist context and approach towards, you know, building the growth of a company and creating jobs. It hasn't helped us. Okay, so over the years that has been a problem, and it has always been a source of lesson for us. So moving forward, it's always important that we look at the private public partnership very, very well, especially if you want to make this thing sustainable. Job creation, establishment of enterprises and companies and factories across the country. It cannot and it should not be just the rule and action facilitated and then done by the state alone. So all the talking has to be done. We need to get the talking right. We need to get basic things like the business plans and the framework also right. I hear people who say that the thing has delayed. Yes, from where we sit, it has delayed. But it is better for us to delay in the process of getting the thing right than rushing it, and then eventually the thing all comes collapsing. What I know, I can mention a few examples that a few banks are in the fray. I know about Exim Bank. We had a company in Insawam then called Aztec, which has evolved. Now we have Noda Food, and Exim Bank is in the process of doling a certain amount of money to them. And if I use that as a typical example, then one of the causes to the collapse is that the management of the company was an issue. This was a company that was more or less run like a family affair. You didn't have people represent institutional representation on the board to see to an effective, good corporate governance practice. And as a result, it led to a collapse of the company. We don't want a repeat of that. So as we speak, even though we are in negotiation with Exim Bank to ensure that this amendment is made, Exim Bank is particularly interested in the constitution of the board of that company, because we don't want to go back to what happened. And if you speak to the 1D1F secretariat, Madam K, what's the name? There's a certain woman who is in charge.
It's not Clenham?
No, not Clenham. Clenham is exports.
Okay.
I've forgotten this woman's name. What they are doing is that they are making sure that they are getting the business plans right. And for every district of every factory or every company going to every district, they are going through the business plans, getting the business idea right.
And how many districts do we have around? How many?
Now we have over 214, right? It's over 230 plus.
216.
Yeah,
We added another 40 something.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think that we need to hasten cautiously. You, the media, you're doing a very good oversight. And thanks to the minority who are always on our neck, rubbing it in our faces, that you said you were going to do 1D1F. But we also want to get it right. So the signing of this pact is also speaking
You wanted to give to Ohene Kunedu, right?
Yes, Ohene Kunedu.
Yeah.
Thank you. It is speaking to the fact that we are not just hurriedly pushing things. And I think that we need to commend this government for that. Who needs to
commend?
You, of course, you are part of it. Ordinarily, we would have said that, well, it's a flagship project, it's a manifesto, agenda. It has to be fulfilled. And then we would have rushed to fulfill it. Eventually, we'll come and be blamed. I am happy that the path we are charting, tainted with professionalism, being guided with good corporate governance, ethics, to ensure that we get the thing right.
Yeah.
And because we have a history, and I'm happy that we are taking a cue from what happened previously. So let the pressure come. People should criticize, but government wouldn't want to lose focus. And I want to support government in this context, that let's do it right and get it right. I will be the very first person to come out and commend government when this Noda Foods of Nsawam which is replacing Aztec starts. But we had to look at their business plan. We realized there were a few things that were not right. Their board, constitution of their board, there were challenges with it. So let's hasten cautiously. But let's also commend government for staying professional.
Noda Foods. That's a great argument for great votes for 2024.
He would not agree. Kwame would not agree with
Which
me.
factory is supposed to be set up in Adaklu?
At the moment, I don't know, because he started with palm nut factory, then he went to alcohol factory, and now cassava factory. I don't know which one will be coming.
Okay.
But we are told the first one in Volta region will be in Adaklu. I don't know what it is. But you see,
because I heard that too, so that's one.
Yeah, that's many years ago. These are the facts. You see, realistically, we don't need, or we can't have a factory in every district. We can't, because of competitive advantage. There are some spots on this planet. It's just like saying you can grow maize everywhere in the world. That is the notion of the one district, one factory. That whether the area has got any competitive advantage or not, we are going to plant a factory there, which is something that we all know cannot happen. What we needed to do now is to take a back step, which is what he's talking about, and say, okay, the one district, one factory was supposed to be an industrialization agenda. However, after going through the business plans and everything, we've noticed that this area can host this, that area can host that, and then we are going to do this. But the other areas that
combine areas.
Yes, other areas that can't physically host a factory will do something to offset your
an outgrower.
Exactly. You see, we then this started this on a small scale. What we did was this: we looked around. We realized
You're
that
still saying this. You started what on a small scale?
On a scale, how to industrialize, how to actually support industry. The pharmaceutical industry in Ghana was beginning to pick up. Private enterprise, the Dan Adams, whatever, they were doing their own thing. They needed some support to expand and produce more and create jobs and go into other African countries and other things. So government basically deliberately targeted them, give them support. At a point in time, these companies in Ghana were actually producing and exporting to other countries. Some of them were even considering planting, I
remember the last budget, there was some 50 million, is it dollars or something?
Exactly.
For them, yeah.
The same thing was done for the pharmaceutical, the poultry industry and other thing. To that one, it would mean that the base, the reason, the business case has already been made by private sector. And I agree with him. We cannot develop this country, or you cannot create jobs by the number of people you recruit into the army or the police. It's totally false. We are giving false hope to the young people that when you finish school, call your MP, and then the interesting one I hear all the time is we've been told you are given a how do you call it, a protocol. And I said, I have never, this is my, I'm in my 7th year in Parliament. I've never heard anybody call me, with whether NDC was in government or NPP in government, that this is your quota in terms of protocol, come and recruit these people into the police or the army. If we do this, that will be better. But you see, what we are having as an additional problem is this. If we even get $1 trillion to implement one district, one factory, we can't physically build a factory that can be seen running in all the 240-something districts before 2020. We have to, then people should have done information management and expectation management.
And some needs analysis.
Yes, but they kept giving the impression that it's just a matter of time, you see all these things. But we know, look, if you take Adaklu, the first time I spoke about 1D, 1F on your program, I said that I don't have any problem against it. The problem I have is that the fundamentals are not there. When you have a situation where some places in my constituency don't have water, in fact, the large portion of the constituency don't have water. We have a water project which is on suspension. We are still trying to have electricity connectivity. In fact, if I were to be in my home, in my constituency, you call me, you can't have access to me because of telephone connectivity. We still have probably the worst road in Adaklu is to my hometown, between Abuadi and Kodiabe. How on earth could you be talking about planting a factory when the fundamentals don't exist? So it is possible that a district or a constituency has got all these things. So they can go ahead and be doing it.
So you're saying, well, government just whetted people's appetite?
Well, campaign time, people say all sorts of things. But I'm saying that in government, they should be able to manage expectations and say that, look, NDC promised one-term premium of NHIs, isn't it? We came and we realized that we couldn't do it. We were upfront with the people. Yes, say that, look, we can't do this. So and so. I don't see why NPP can't do that, say this.
But you will take advantage of it. No same politician.
Oh, not for me. For me, knowing the number of young people that are desperately looking for opportunity, the earlier we find a solution that creates opportunity for them, the better. If one district, one factory works, I'll be happy about it. But that is not to say that I can see anything that is working at the moment.
Is it possible that by 2020, when the elections and the fever for the electioneering is up and running, we're going to have how many districts now? 200.
It will be close to 240. It's over 240. Surely
it's over 245.
Yes.
You see,
are we going to have 245?
Well. You see, when I give a direct answer to this is your question. It will be taken out of context.
Well, we'll put it on my John document.
I don't want to be quoted. I don't want to be quoted out of context. But I want to look at it from another angle. What he said, I have little doubt and objection to it. But you see, the point has to be made that all over the world, okay, the Wright brothers who build aeroplane, you need an overarching ambition which the people will feed into. Government shouldn't come and be telling the Ghanaian people that we have to distinguish what we said and the reality now, because we cannot create, districts in all the constituencies. What is important is that work is being done.
In other words, you're saying that you have the ambition has to be great, has to be big.
The ambition has to be great. Look,
has to be big
all over Africa,
so that you feed the efforts towards.
Exactly, all over the world. And I have to repeat myself. Africa, the world, the greatest challenge facing politicians and public officers now is the creation of jobs for the people that they
How
need.
about being realistic with the people?
We are being realistic. It does. Nobody should tell me that
How
one
realistic then is it?
one
Mr.
district.
Frank
When do you want to?
that there is a possibility that 245
Roland,
In fact, 254. It's now 254.
you have even calculated.
Roland, anybody who tells me
254 factories will be created in 254
it is not an impossibility. It is not. I would not accept that.
That's not the question.
Now,
I'm saying, how realistic is it?
It is
I'm
realistic.
not asking how impossible it is.
Well, I'm answering your question. It is realistic, and work is in progress. We are seeing evidence
you are giving
of
me
it.
question tag responses.
We are getting. Are we getting evidence of it being done?
So
are we
far,
getting?
so far
No,
nothing.
No, Roland.
Land,
are we getting evidence of it being
land
done?
was graced somewhere in the central region. So far, we're told something.
I think that, with the greatest respect to you, as a very intelligent and a respected
and
media,
experienced.
yes, very experienced.
journalist.
You know that work is being done, and let's rather encourage.
Which factory do we have now?
Well, for what I know, I think that you are taking me back.
It's a round figure.
I have given you reasons why we cannot see edifices now, but work actually is being done, and I think that we should go that path. Let's not rush things. If by 2020 we have not gotten factories to all the district, and yet some places have started, it is well and good. It is better, but a bit of history. Like, can we ask ourselves some questions? Look, my brother here, and I respect him, for all the period that the political parties that have ruled this country, the PNDC and NDC have ruled this country more than anybody. Fact be told.
Isn't that a period of equalization?
No, it's not equalization. I'm putting matters in context.
That the Ghanaian people should not hold you more responsible because you have less years in politics.
No, I'm not saying that. What has been
that what you're saying?
No, what has been the efforts of various governments towards job creation in recent times? It's important we make reference to it. The last one I can recall, President Nkrumah, then Young Pioneers and the like. The recent one was the YEE. Then he had a different name. That was the recent time, the significant attempt at creating jobs for the youth. It was begun by the MPP. We don't just talk. And then you came in. Things have evolved. You said that we didn't have a legal framework. You passed all the law to back it. That is because governance is it's always continuous. Okay? And now we have said that we are going to create factories in all the districts. If at the end of the day, we create factories in half of the district,
that's good work.
And so let's rather focus on the bigger picture and do what we can. At the end of the day, we go to the people and render accounts. The good people of this country are so intelligent to know that, well, within the context of what we have, they said they were going to create it in all. They have been able to create half. It's good. Let's give them the chance. Maybe by the time they finish their last term, they would have done the rest. You said you were going to do one-term premium.
Yes.
It was a fiasco.
Yes, and we came frontally.
But we are not holding.
But he's saying that yours is becoming a fiasco.
I am
so
not.
admit
I am not holding the NDC against that bigger dream. It was a big dream. It was good enough. They were not able to achieve it. Okay, we have a bigger dream. Support us to achieve it. Because the fact that you fail doesn't mean you are also going to fail.
A young, smart politician.
You know, you see, you cannot solve Ghana's unemployment by creating extra quangos. That is branding things and which don't lead to anything. I believe.
No, we've just had 400. Let's be realistic. We just had 400 billion.
Listen, that is a different.
How much do you need to build a factory?
Hold on. We are even going to get there. Let me tell you.
Yes, sir.
When NDC returns, I would urge whoever our president is to even double or triple the deployment of infrastructure in this country. Do you know why? I believe it's the most sustainable way of creating jobs. Today, whenever the president goes to commission Terminal 3, do you know what it means? Extra sustainable job for people there. When Ho Airport eventually comes on stream, that means extra, not a job seekers allowance kind of job. Proper job for people perpetually. When the secondary schools that we're building get completed, those are extra new teachers, not transfer teachers. So that is the sustainable. When we build new hospitals, what it means is a new job for a new doctor, a new nurse, and everything. So we believe that is the sustainable way. Instead of the quangos we create basically just rename something and then put a party parachik in it and then tell us to go online and then put my name here. But the other side of the computer is an MPP chairman who is actually receiving the name and throwing the ones from a constituency out.
In fact, this one is below the belt, and he has to withdraw. He has to withdraw. He is too nice to be saying this thing.
The front side of the computer, look, everybody can go and sit there. But the other side, the guy on the other side.
But seriously, even if it's anybody who is on the other side of the political divide, but from a Daklu, who gets a job, that's another.
No, I agree. All that I'm saying.
But let's move on.
We can
Nation Builder Score program.
Yes.
And for us to gauge how many people may
that is what he was referencing.
Yeah, no, maybe unemployed.
I don't think you need his comment further. Come to me.
We're discussing NAPCO, Nation Builder Score.
Yeah.
Just in 9 days, 72,000 unemployed graduates have filled forms online to get into that 3-year internship. They'll be paid 700 Ghana cedis cash net minus tax each month of the year for 3 years. That's good work done. It also shows the sort of unemployment status we have our graduates.
Exactly. It's a reflection of. You see, Raymond, you see, the point is Roland. The point is that clearly it's a crisis. We have a crisis when it comes to unemployment situation in our country. And if you speak to the president, you can practically feel on your skin his passion for us to resolve this matter. Let's face it, we've had JIDA, we have SADA, we have all the tasks. We've had situation in this country. And I'm not a fan of paying this undue recourse to the past. I don't do that. I try to be realistic. As you speak, Forestry Commission is recruiting 15,000 men and women going into tree plantation. The broader agenda globally is to ensure that we control climate and that we get our environment sanitized. Government, through its wonderful negotiation strength, has been able to enter to a pact to the World Bank to the extent that a 2-year contract of tree planting, as we speak, in Salma regime, we have recruited over 280 young men and women. If you recall, some time back, Parliament had charged us.
From both sides, or MPP alone?
You see, that is where we get the problem. I mean, what is MPP and DC? It's Ghanaians. It's Ghanaians. Yeah, Ghanaians.
They will soon get to that.
If you come to my constituency, let me tell you, I have very, very admired people who admire me on the other side.
I know why.
Because I open up.
No, because you speak various languages.
No, not that. To speak language alone will not. So language alone, when you speak the language alone, you don't put food on the table of the person.
Yeah, true.
But look at what happened during our brother's term. Even planting of trees, it was fought with a lot of corruption. You recall, the planting of trees, it was conducted in a lean season, and we wasted the state funds. A lot of state funds just went down the drain. I am saying that there have been a certain paradigm shift, and we need to admit this. We are not perfect. We have challenges. But I'm telling you that we are departing from the past where monies were being put in a gaping hole. Now you have to account for what you are spending, and there is value for money. NACOP. I hear our brothers, I haven't heard him say it, but he tried to go there now. People say that, oh, it's just party aparachiki. You see, when you throw cold water on everything the government does, you make me have a certain mindset about you. Free SHS is not possible. Restoration on lessons allowance is not possible. Planting for food and job is not possible. 1D, 1F is in the world of the NDC. Everything is not possible. So NAPCOP 2, you are here saying that, oh, the NPP chairman is on the other side of the very funny. We are on the other side of the computer. So when you go online and you apply, then we intentionally take out your name. Jesus Christ, save this country.
I think he's trying to depict what the reality is.
If there is,
in their world, in the world of politics.
He has no evidence. He's just doing his own.
John Boydu got anything to do with the NAPCOP?
No. The NAPCOP is being handled by Dr. Nyas at the presidency. Kwame, I think that if there is any evidence to that, I would want to go against anybody who does anything like that. Because there is no government who can rule this country forever. One day, MPP will go back to opposition. And I try to reach out to everybody, and he will testify. In Parliament, I reach out to everybody because the country is for all of us. If you come and you employ only MPP, we would have failed. And that is not the intention of the president. Let me tell you this. Let me make a confession to you.
Yes, sir.
There are people who have been to the president to tell him that this man there is NDC. The president tells them, when I sack him, what do you expect him to go and feed on? He and his family. So let's be optimistic for once. And let's stop throwing cold water on every initiative of government. But in any case, you see, what makes me angry is that whilst they are throwing the cold water on the initiative, they don't bring alternatives. You said NAPCOP is not good. What is your alternative? Because you just left government not too long ago. What did you do about the job unemployment situation? If you are recruiting 100,000, you are saying it's not good, what did you recruit at your time? Or what is the alternative? Tell us. Because we're in a competition. If our argument and our idea is not good enough, bring out a superior one and we'll support you.
Well, I've never said anywhere that NAPCO is not good, but I know. When I started school, I never went to school to be planting trees. The nurse didn't go to school to be under health for something. He went to school, he or she went to school to be a nurse. When you study engineering, you wanted to be an engineer, not to be an apprentice for 3 years, and then you are out of the mill. What I'm saying is this, and I've already said it. When you spend 850 million Ghana cedi to create a Kwango, to give party apparatchiks opportunity to apply for job, and then you select them and give them temporary job. So I finished engineering, I finished architecture, I finished nursing, and you tell me to enroll on something that gives me 700 cedis. If I'm getting 0 cedi now, it is something. I agree to that. But I tell everybody, including NDC, we are fooling the young people of this country, and especially this country, this government. You cannot solve unemployment by encouraging people that I will open up recruitment into the police, create the environment so that the private sector, you employ 4, he employs 6, I employ 3.
But that's what they're doing.
No, they're not doing it.
Oh,
Look, businessmen are struggling because they are not able to pay.
Inflationary trends have been improved.
That's not. I mean, we don't. I mean, I would just.
Have you been checking the reports of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank?
Do you know how they do that? Do you know how they do that? They basically renege on their commitment. So contractors are working. They decide that stop work, we will not pay you. So guess what? I predict the worst record of our road nature, the condition of our roads in the past 10 years will be recorded this year when the rain starts. Because majority of road projects have been suspended and they've been left to rot. And when the rain starts, that's when you go. And I'm saying that when you spend 840 million Ghana cedi to create this, you are giving a false hope that 100,000 people have a job. But very soon they'll be out. And how did NDC solve it? I've already told you. We believe that the way to solve it is when you give money to the Dan Adams to expand their production line as a pharmaceutical company, they recruit people. When you give money to poultry farmers to actually expand, they do that. When you build more schools, you create more spaces for teachers.
So you're saying not giving allowances, which will just go down the drain.
If any NDC,
that's not value for money.
If any NDC candidate promises restoring nurses and teacher training allowances, I, Kwame Agboja, will kick against it because that is not sustainable. The nurses and the doctor, the teachers, we still maintain. We wanted to use that money to create a space for you when you're out of school.
So go, more schools.
Go and take student loan like myself and my brother took. When you finish, you also pay like we paid, but then there will be job for you to do. I'm not saying we could have created all the jobs, but when you build airports, when you build schools, hospitals, when the manufacturing booms, you create jobs which are not sustainable. But this one, NDC have done it. President Akufo, MPP have done it under President Akufo. Were we able to solve unemployment by creating youth employment and another thing? And which graduate watching us went to school to come and get job under youth employment? Tell me, that you call. Who actually went to university or polytechnic because his ambition was to come and get job under what do you call it, youth employment?
I just did the interim for 3 years.
That is exactly what I'm saying. We are not solving. We are kicking the can down the road. We are kicking the can down the road, hoping that
2020. So by 2021, they should be in job.
No, we kick the can down the road, hoping that by the time it's time to clear it, you will not be the one to pick it up. But that is not what we should. The ambition we should have for our young people.
I get you.
NAPCO, I think it's
just a quick one. I think that he's he has a point. But you see, he also needs to admit.
But it's creating a sustainable job, not the way to go.
My brother, there is a long-term, medium-term, and short-term measures to solving every problem.
So this year we employ 100,000.
When I finished university, the first job I got, I was being given 100 Ghana cedis.
And you did that for 3 years?
I did it for 2 years. Then eventually I graduated and got a different job of my choice. I'm telling you that successive government have not been able to solve the unemployment problem of our country. The model they adopted then, did they solve it? It did not.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
They also added on to the numbers. In your time, we had unemployed graduates association. So your model was good. It was perfect. You did it all that you were supposed to do, but yet we had this problem gaping and staring at us. So let's also understand that this may not be a perfect solution. It may not be a permanent job. Again, we have to change our mindset about what is a job. I went to the UK, I was working in a restaurant. I'm sure somehow he was also done some menial jobs when he was outside this country.
You did?
But we create an impression.
Permanent job or menial?
Both.
Both permanent.
But we create an impression that...
As a student, I couldn't work full time.
You see, we create an impression
so
that...
it means this one is okay.
We create an impression...
They were not students, they are graduates. These ones are graduates.
My brother, we create an impression
that
this job is decent. Okay. This job is not decent. This person is graduating. He wants to be in suit and sit in office. We have to start from somewhere. Let's work in changing the mindset of our youth. Let's not rather feed into saying that, oh, I didn't go to university to come and work at the YEA. But the jobs are not available. This is what the nation has created. You have to make do with it until you get what you want.
The nation has created allowance opportunities for you. Is that
yes.
what the nation has created?
So yes. And then on this nursing thing, I think that we may have to find another day and put all the cards on the table and let's make the argument. The NDC is saying that we should go by loan, okay? And we are saying that, I mean, the allowances should still be given to them. His argument is making the point strongly.
He's saying that your position is very populist.
Populist? I would rather remain populist in solving the problem of the country.
Because giving allowances is not sustainable.
Populism is relative. We are looking at solving the problem of our country. Our youth are saying they want the allowance. The president realizes that it's also important.
We have two types of trained nurses in Ghana. Those that go through university. And those that go through the colleges of nursing training.
So with all that we've done...
Those are the colleges of nursing training. They get allowances. And those who are trained as nurses from the university, they don't get allowance. They get student loans.
It's a work in progress. Roland, it's work in progress.
We're continuing something that we cannot sustain. That's what he's saying.
The question about sustainability comes up. But so far, we are managing it.
All right.
If we cannot sustain, they should give us a better alternative. And if the people of this country buy into it, probably they will consider them. But for now, the people of Ghana says that they want this one, and we want to give that to them. On job creation, I'm saying that we should help in changing the mindset of our youth about jobs. Somebody's working, you just finished university, you're registered on NACOB, you are taking 700. You are saying that, well, this is not what I'm desirous of, so I'm not going to go. Look, meanwhile, the NDC goes to hold press conference and say, encourage their youth, don't go and register to the NACOB.
They have not said that.
No.
They have not done that.
I'm not aware.
Okay.
They have not said that.
Well, but, I mean, they are rubbishing it. At least they are rubbishing it. They are saying that it's not sustainable, it is not good enough.
Well, he's to defend whether they are rubbishing it or not. He said, are you rubbishing it?
No, I never rubbished it.
So will you encourage your people to go on it?
They've probably a low road, but I'm just saying.
That's very interesting. He said probably.
No, probably. But the only thing I'm saying is that this side of the computer, they are there, but the other side of the computer.
How would they know whether somebody sent this your MP?
Oh, how would they know? Do you know? Let me tell you how they do it. The constituency brings a list. Your name is on the list. So when the computer we finish loading, the other guy at the others.
When did you get to know?
Hold on, the guy. You see, computer.
When did you get to know?
The computer.
How did you get to know?
Computer is a very interesting machine.
How did you get to know?
The computer only gives you an answer.
It's
an answer.
Roland, I was actually on the floor. If
okay,
you
let me tell you.
He's taking my time.
Then John Boedu and co at
he's taking my time.
Hold on. Let me tell you.
You are taking my time.
So they are expecting the list from Adaplu to contain your name. So if your name comes,
Roland Walker.
Yeah, they pick it up. Then they give you a job. If it's Kwame Abuja,
that's not fair.
Roland.
I don't think that's a very good communication for them.
Kwame, Member of Parliament, wonderful, ranking member.
However,
a wonderful ranking member.
Let's go.
Now,
however is the most important
the point I'm making is the Constitution spells out against, discrimination.
Yeah.
And you have evidence, you see. I want to challenge Kwame Agboja, the ranking member for Rules and Transport Committee, on this platform. If he has evidence that speaks to this, he should bring it up. You have mentioned our acting General Secretary's name. I am challenging you. If you have evidence, and you are very good at holding press conferences, you should probably hold a press conference and bring the evidence out.
Yes, I'm saying that the NPP, the NAPCO, is such that the constituencies have been instructed to bring names. So the names, hold on, the names are there. So when you finish feeding the computer, the guy at the other end of the computer is looking for these names from Adaklu. He's not looking for Roland Walker.
And how many people do that? Sift through 72,000.
That is the thing. They only need to look for your name. They don't need to look for...
This is scandalous. Look.
Do you know how many Kwame Agboja have been in Ghana?
It is because that was what they were doing. So he feels we are doing same.
Oh, please.
No,
we haven't implemented this program.
Do you know? Let me tell you.
Okay,
the doctor. Hold on. The doctor you called. The doctor's name. Who name you called?
Which doctor?
The doctor in charge of
Nyans. Dr. Nyans.
You know he went around the country meeting constituency executives in every region. Why did he not meet all the youth?
That's not true.
What? I'm telling you for a fact.
Kwame,
Dr. Nyans, or what's the name?
You don't even know the name.
Okay.
Look at this.
Hold on.
He doesn't even
Whoever
know the
is in charge of this, I'm saying, and I'm alleging that you met NPP regional and constituency executives in every region. On NAPCO, how come, if you were not planning to just skew this for NPP people, how come you didn't meet all the youth of the regions, but you met NPP people?
Oh, they did that?
Listeners, now you find the confusion. Confusion galore. At one point, your spokesperson are saying that don't sign on to the program. It is not sustainable. It is not a good...
Let's move on.
And now you are saying... He doesn't even know the doctor's name. Now, you are taking it from me.
Yes, I'm using the
Oh my God.
Matami, let me take an insight from the Executive Director for IDEC, that's the Institute for Democratic Governance, Dr. Emmanuel Akwete, on why he thinks that government deciding to push the whole election of MMDCs to 2021 a good thing.
If we had rushed to elect MMDCs within 24 months next year without creating conditions that would allow them or enable them go into local government and deliver, services that meet our expectations, we would probably wake up to begin to see that, hey, we haven't thought through this carefully, the practical effect it will have on the system, and whether it's going to help us solve any of the problems for which the demand for election of MMDCs started in the 2020 elections, if not earlier. That all the parties said they were going to do that, but never told us how they were going to do it. In other words, they did not define the practical steps that they were going to do, except to say there will be elections. But how is that going to be done? No party, the NDC, the MPP, the PPP, the PNC, the CPP, and the others laid out how this policy that they say they will be implementing, they didn't cost it. So we don't know how much it will cost to undertake this. And that, in a very serious way, raise questions about the implementation, the effectiveness, the feasibility of having to implement it within 24 months when no preparation. We don't even know if the parties discuss this with the Electoral Commission.
On partisan basis, they will be able to support and determine who should become the president of the republic, on partisan basis. Then they should also be able to do so, at the local level, on partisan basis. And take note, it is a very proactive and serious solution to winner-takes-all politics, okay? Particularly in areas that ruling governments are not popular. Okay, that's the reason why elections always becomes a do-or-die battle, because he who wins will win everything, and he who loses will lose everything. And so it suits the feeling of defeat when you lost a national election and you know that at least at the local level you would have the opportunity to also elect somebody, on partisan basis. We are growing as a democracy, so it cannot always be the case that you have NPP at the national level governing, the NPP president, and then by all means it must also be an MPP MMDC at the local level. It should be able to change as a solution, as a strategy to winner takes all politics.
Well, so let me start with you. This whole thing, you the political parties, you didn't know that, I mean, because NDC also had it, right?
Yes.
They said do the election.
I think it's for the fact that the president has come out to give an indication that they can't fulfill this within the period. I think it's an honorable thing to do. When you're a politician, you say things, and when it's come to reality, sometimes you just need to look at the facts and see what's best. So I don't have problem with the president saying this. The problem I have, though, is with IDEC. You see, they are a think tank. They should have been saying these things when the manifestos come up, that these things in your manifesto wouldn't work, other things wouldn't work. Well, everybody can predict a football match after it is being played. So waiting for the president to say, I will do this after 2021 to say that I commend the president, does the president actually need that? He's already taken his decision. I was expecting IDEC to look at the manifestos and say, what you are saying, you can't do it within the period of time. NDC say you want to do this, you can't do it within the period of time. One DC, one factory, this is what will come. But sadly, some researchers in this country can only predict things after the things have taken place, and that is not helpful. So I don't know the essence of IDEC's statement. If they say that all political parties actually elect assembly members on partisan basis, yes, we all know about that. Do you have to tell us that? We all know about that. Political parties behind the scenes go and support candidates for assembly election. That is true. We know about that already. We don't need a think tank to tell us about that. So I don't know the essence of what how do you call it, IDEC is saying. They should go next time, take our manifestos, do research, and tell us what is doable, what is not doable. Then we can see that you are helpful. You are not being helpful when after I've taken a decision, you are commending me for taking a decision. Hello, I mean, as a president, he's taking his decision, and we have no choice than to go with it.
But if you listen to Professor Jampo, he says that ideally this will cure ultimately all that mindset and the psychological weight that is always hanging on the political parties and the political structure about when one party wins and everything goes to one side. So it means that, let's say, definitely in parts of Volta region and also Ashanti region, we're going to have MMDCs by 2021 who will be aligned to MPP and DC.
I think we have evolved, you see, and it's also a relief to us MPs. It's a relief. Seriously.
Ultimately.
Oh, yes.
The expectations are going to change.
Tell me that. I haven't heard this argument.
Look, because our faces were on the ballot papers.
Okay, within those jurisdictions.
Yes, everything has to be you.
And it's only you, the C.
Yes.
So now
it is going to be shared. and the MMDCs are going to be much more responsible. But again, it's a feather in our cap, in our tradition. I am proud that this thing which has been on the discussion table
both parties had
of both parties.
But in 2021, he's taking credit for 2021 when we don't even know they are going to be there.
Oh, by inshallah, you know we will be there. By the grace of God, we will be there. We will be there. No, I will not. I will rather think positive. I would rather think positive. And so it's something that I'm very, very proud of. It's something we have been talking about.
But what are the advantages, disadvantages?
Oh, there are myriad of them. I mean, if you look at other jurisdictions where these things are practiced, it comes in wake of ensuring that there is a lot more transparency in the delivery of public service. And then again, you in our context, it reduces the focus and the pressure. Now, we are going to focus more on the core duties of a member of parliament. The MMDCs are also going to play their role because you have been elected into office. You will not just sit in your office and say that everything has to be done by the MP because the MP was elected and he will go to renew his office. So it's going to ensure that everybody takes responsibility for what they have to do to serve. And public officials are going to be much more responsible.
So
accountability.
So ideally, let's say 2021, there's campaigning that's starting from January 2021. Somebody, whether on the ticket of NDC or an independent or whatever it is, will go to the people of Adaklu Wire and say, elect me, because when I come, I'll make sure we manage the revenues and I'll build this, I'll make sure I facilitate.
They can actually say, I'll build this. Why? Because if I give you an example, the MP Common Fund for Adaklu for 2018 is about 250,000 Ghana cedi.
That's a lot of money.
The Assembly Common Fund is over 4.5 million Ghana cedi. But guess what? Anytime we go somewhere else, everybody, all the letters from NADMO, everything is directed at me, like he said, because they feel you are the one we voted for. Now, my DC, when he contests and wins, whoever that person is, would have to actually make a commitment to the people of Adaklu that I'll help fix this road. I'll help do this because I'll have this amount of money. But by the way, you said 250,000 cedis is a lot. It cannot build 1 6-unit classroom block in a year. So that is how bad the situation is.
I know.
But I'm expected, myself and my brother are expected to solve all the health problem, education, school fees, everything out of the 250. And that is the reality. You understand? I've got roofs.
And even that doesn't come to your hand, you have to go and apply.
In fact, you are not even signatory
it's not as if it's in your bank account.
And as we speak,
and people don't know that, right?
No, they don't know. We haven't even received half of that.
I have a lot of MP friends.
Yes, but you see, we're not crying about that. We believe that electing MMDCs give them better commitment to the people instead of just the president and the MP, who in my case, if you are in opposition, you are everything. So I think it's a good thing. Hopefully, the way we write the law or amend the law would make it such that it can remove some of the small things we've been discussing behind the scene and make it quite clear that you are here committed to the people, not necessarily to the party alone. It doesn't really matter.
All right. So if, let's say, we have an MPP government central and you got elected on a ticket, whether it's with the backing of a party and all that, how do you draw your resources?
Well, I mean, of course, the resources will come from so many sources, but of course, it will come from the central government because it's going to be governed by law.
So,
assuming, for instance,
so they'll have no option then to give you.
You have to by law. I mean, if, for instance, the voter region and you have supposed opposition to the central government, you still have, because the central government will still have to perform and need the supports across the country. So if you deny, which you cannot. If you deny, you are only denying yourself. And the person who is there also have a responsibility to the people. So if you think that you are doing any bad to the central government, at the end of the day, you have to go back to the people and seek renewal of mandate or otherwise. So from both sides.
Aren't we likely to have some compromise candidates one way or the other? Some compromise elected people, maybe they'll be in bed with the government of the day just to make sure they fulfill their mandate.
You don't have to be in bed, like he says. If you're somebody who comes across...
you want to push central government projects into your area a lot more. So.
It will rather help, because you see, if you're somebody who cuts across the political divide, you can actually draw support from both sides. I don't think NPP really believes they can win at the seat in Adaklu. I don't believe NDC really believe they can win Bantama. But whoever is in charge of Bantama knows that the people of Bantama or people of Adaklu require development. Sure. So you cannot become the MMDC, the DC, and decide that I want to sabotage the government. So when they send central government money or even collect taxes on their behalf, you waste it to undermine government. I don't think it works.
It's a strong point. Yeah, it is.
Okay, thank you very much. Sure. I've enjoyed the discussion. Kwame Agboja is Member of Parliament for Adaklu. He's also the ranking for the Roads and Transport Committee of Parliament.
And the fire brand.
Future NDC minister when they come in. You said which year are they coming?
Oh, some 40 years.
40 years. Okay.
I'll be 80 years by then.
You see, Frank Anodon is a Member of Parliament for Insawamadu Ijiri, but also the chairman for the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament.
It's a big post, you know.
But that's all I have.
Also, Razak, good morning to you. Razak is a lead cameraman here. Okay, thank you very much.